Okay. Let's talk about the prisoner's dilemma and American politics, particularly with the huge amounts of political violence we've been seeing lately, which, to be 100% clear, I condemn wholly, without any hesitation, all political violence, and you should too. Everyone should. The President of the United States, even, should be coming out immediately and saying, we all, everyone, not Hillary Clinton, not Joe Biden, not Barack Obama, not the deep state, not the radical left, everyone needs to fucking cool it. Okay? That's what needs to happen, but that's what won't happen. So I guess we're just gonna keep fighting the good fight here on the internet with each other. So here's what the prisoner's dilemma is before I dive in. So, yeah, person A, person B. They commit a crime together. They get arrested together. The police don't have quite enough evidence to get a really good, lasting, strong conviction. So the police separate the two prisoners and say, hey, you have the right to remain silent. And then we have some evidence, we can lock you up. Or you can testify against your partner and you can go free. So how it works with this chart is the best possible outcome is if A and B cooperate with one another. And they both serve a year in jail. Maybe 6 months after good behavior or whatever. What always happens, though, is because of the incentive structure on these lower left and upper right quadrants, the incentives are for A to testify against B so he can run free, and B to testify against A so he can run free. But here's the problem. If they both do that at the same time, they rat on each other, and they both just go to prison for longer than they would have if they just would have shut the fuck up. Does that make sense? Rewind and rewatch if you have to, because you're not going to understand anything I'm about to say moving forward. So if A and B cooperate, that's the best outcome. But the incentives are set up to where if A and B testify against one another, then they're both worse off, right? But in real life, what always happens is this lower right quadrant. This is just the human nature of it. And it is rational. It's rational for each one want to minimize their own time to rat out the other one, but it is what it is, right? So now let's talk about how this applies to American politics. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just kind of redraw this little chart so we can keep up with it. You have person A, and on this, you have person B. Okay. And then CO would be cooperate, right? And then TE is testify. Okay. So if they both cooperate, they each go to jail for a year. If they both testify against one another, they get, 2-3 years in prison. Different from jail. Worse. If A chooses to cooperate and stay silent, right? Because I'm trying to be careful with how we use the word cooperate. I mean, when I say cooperate, I mean with each other, not with the police. If A chooses to cooperate with B, but B does not reciprocate that, A is fucked. Oh, I got that backwards. See? This is why. Okay, so yeah. So if okay. No, I had that right the first time. Jesus Christ. I think it's because I wrote the chart backwards. Okay? So if B testifies and A goes silent, right? That's how this works. A gets punished for cooperating, goes to jail for 5 years, prison for 5 years. B gets let out. And it's the opposite here, right? If A chooses to fuck over B and B retains his honor among thieves, he gets punished for it. Okay? So does this all make sense? So now, let's talk about how this applies to American politics. The ideal situation is this top left quadrant where both sides live in peace. This is the ideal. The less overall harm for everyone. We might not be completely satisfied, which again is the least bad outcome. Maybe everyone's not completely satisfied, but there's peace. Where we are now is war. We are here because neither side is choosing to cooperate. Okay? So this includes civil war, this includes political violence, this includes assassinations, all of that. We are here. And so this might ruffle some feathers, but this is not the worst outcome for us. The worst outcome is one of these two quadrants. That ends in genocide. If one side chooses to turn the temperature down and the other side does not reciprocate, one side completely destroys the other. This is a worse world than the one we live in now. The world we live in now is preferable to this world. I'm sorry, but it is. As I said at the beginning, I completely and totally, unequivocally denounce political violence, and I want us to come back here. But this can't happen if both sides aren't willingly and voluntarily turning things down. This is why it's so important for Trump himself to be an adult and tell everyone to chill out. So here's how American politics also makes this game theory different, but also worse at the same time. Okay, for one, B and A, in order to make rational decisions, need to be exposed to the same information and need to be living in the same shared reality so they can make an informed judgment on what the other side is doing. I don't think I need to say that's not happening right now. Shocker, right? The other confounding variable is time. Okay? In the classical prisoner's dilemma, this is like a single situation, right? This has the ongoing element of time. So we have our two parties, our two sides, and from left to right, we are talking about a series of interactions over and over and over. So studies have been done on computer models, computer programs, doing different strategies to try to maximize the amount of points. It wasn't like a punishment system like this, like going to prison or whatever. It was more of a reward system. You want to maximize the amount of points you get. So cooperation, obviously, was the best way to maximize the number of points they both got. But obviously none of them were willing to do that. They wanted to win. So the best strategy to even things out in these studies were what's called a tit for tat. Okay? So if A cooperates and B defects and does not cooperate, what A needs to do is do what B did on the last move. Okay? Tit for tat. Now B realizes, fuck, getting hit hurts. I don't like this. On the next move, I'm going to go ahead and cooperate. A, because the last move still involved a defection, might still defect. So this in-between period gets a little bit squirrely, okay? It gets a little bit messy, but eventually what happens is A and B straighten it out, and they are incentivized to cooperate until someone steps out of line, does a tit, and then next is a tat. And this process continues until they either stay fighting back and forth, or what eventually happens is they will even back out and begin cooperating again. Okay? Does this make sense? So again, we are stuck here. This is where we are. And until both sides mutually decide to chill the fuck out, we're stuck here. This isn't about Trump derangement syndrome, and this isn't about whatever the fuck else. We need to be adults, okay? We need to start acknowledging that cooperation is in everyone's best interests. We need to both sides need to stop so we can make it back to this world, and both sides need to do it at the same time. We can't keep living in this situation where when someone on the left goes on a killing spree, the left has to kowtow and apologize and whatever for it. Okay, I don't even really consider myself on the left. There's probably arguments to be made. I have a lot of beliefs in common, but you could probably say that on the right as well. Whatever. Moderate problems. So, but then when the right does something, okay, like January 6th, or that Bowers guy, apparently the guy who shot Charlie Kirk might even be a right-winger. The right doesn't take any accountability and apologize or anything. It's always a conspiracy theory. It's always FBI agents at January 6th. It's not any of them. They actually were the left. It was actually Antifa at January 6th. This world can't exist. So not only is it, or this world can't continue, stability, for stability's sake. So what needs to happen is, yes, both sides need to tone it down, but the Republicans, specifically the Republican leadership, okay, needs to come out and unequivocally tell everyone to chill. That is the only possible first step to reach the end of this conflict cycle and start going back into an area of peace. Yeah, that's about all. I mean, there's nothing left to say here. I hope the gravity, if you hadn't realized the gravity of the situation that we're in right now, I hope you do now. And I hope that you just help me out here. You know, there need to be adults in the room at this point. And the federal government has chosen to make things worse and not better. Okay, so we have to keep pushing back on this. It's not good. We're becoming the Middle East.